A battle-hardened veteran, scraping by as a single dad, spots three burly thugs cornering a terrified young woman in a dark alley. His little girl's voice trembles. "Daddy, can we help her?" In a blur of emotion, he takes them down single-handedly. But the real shocker, the next morning, three gleaming Rolls-Royces pull up to his run-down apartment and everything changes. If you've ever felt invisible, disrespected, or just plain beaten down by life, only to dream of that one moment where justice flips the script, then you're in the right place. Hit that like button if you're ready for a story that screams karma, subscribe for more epic Reddit revenge tales, and buckle up as this one's going to hit you right in the feels. Let me take you back to the life of our protagonist, Alex. Alex was a decorated Marine veteran, the kind of guy who'd seen more hell in one tour than most people do in a lifetime. But war doesn't end when you come home. After losing his wife to cancer 3 years ago, Alex was left raising their 5-year-old daughter, Lily, all alone. His body ached from old wounds, a shattered knee from an eye blast, scars crisscrossing his arms like a road map of survival. Nights were the worst. He'd jolt awake from nightmares, sweat soaking his sheets, heart pounding like enemy fire. During the day, he pieced together odd jobs, security gigs, delivery driving, anything to keep the lights on in their cramped one-bedroom apartment. But the world, it didn't care. Landlords hiked the rent without mercy, bosses overlooked him for younger hires, and strangers on the street averted their eyes from the quiet man with the limp and the tired gaze. Alex felt like a ghost, powerful once, but now just forgotten. Why bother fighting anymore? He'd think, staring at the ceiling. Who's even watching? One chilly autumn evening, Alex and Lily were walking home from the corner store, her tiny hand clutched in his. Lily skipped along, chattering about her kindergarten drawings, her pigtails bouncing. The streetlights flickered, casting long shadows on the cracked sidewalk. That's when they heard muffled cries from a narrow alley up ahead. Alex froze, his instincts kicking in like muscle memory. Peering around the corner, he saw her, a young woman, maybe in her early 20s, backed against a brick wall. Three hulking men circled her like predators, tattoos snaking up their necks, smirks twisting their faces. One grabbed her arm, yanking her purse. "Hand it over, sweetheart," he snarled, his voice gravelly and mean. The others laughed, blocking her escape, their breaths visible in the cold air. She struggled, eyes wide with terror, but they just shoved her harder, one pinning her shoulder while another rifled through her bag. Alex's stomach twisted. Flashbacks hit him, helpless civilians in war zones, the ones he couldn't save. His fists clenched, knuckles whitening, but he hesitated. "Not my fight," his mind whispered. "You've got Lily to think about. Walk away." Then, Lily tugged his sleeve, her big blue eyes looking up at him. "Daddy," she whispered, voice small but steady, "can we help her? She's scared, like when Mommy was sick." That did it. A surge of protectiveness flooded him, washing away the doubt. He couldn't let his daughter see the world as a place where good people stood by. "Stay here, baby girl," he murmured, guiding her behind the dumpster. "Daddy's got this." Heart racing, Alex stepped into the alley, his limp barely noticeable now. Adrenaline sharpened everything, a metallic tang of fear in the air, the woman's stifled sobs, the thug's heavy boots scraping pavement. "Hey!" he barked, voice low and commanding, like back in the squad. The three turned, sizing him up, a middle-aged guy in faded jeans and a worn jacket. The leader, a beefy guy with a scar across his cheek, chuckled. "Mind your business, old man. Unless you want a piece of this." The others sneered, one cracking his knuckles. "Yeah, limp away before you get hurt." Their words stung, echoing all the dismissals Alex had endured. A washed-up vet, useless has-been, rage bubbled up, hot and familiar. "Let her go," Alex said evenly, stepping closer, "or you'll regret it." They lunged. The scarred leader swung first. A wild haymaker aimed at Alex's jaw, but Alex was ready. Years of training took over. He ducked, feeling the whoosh of air above his head, then drove his elbow into the guy's solar plexus. The thug gasped, doubling over, wind knocked out. The second one charged, grabbing Alex's collar. Alex twisted, using the man's momentum against him, slamming him into the wall with a thud that echoed like a gunshot. Bricks crumbled slightly under the impact. The third hesitated, eyes flickering with doubt, but then pulled a switchblade, the blade glinting under the streetlight. "You're done, hero," he hissed. Alex's mind raced. "Protect Lily." "And this quick." He disarmed the guy with a swift chop to the wrist as the knife clattered to the ground. They then swept his legs out from under him. The thug hit the pavement hard, groaning. It was over in seconds. Alex stood there, breathing heavy, muscles burning, but alive with purpose he hadn't felt in years. The woman slumped against the wall, tears streaming, clutching her purse. "Thank you," she whispered, voice shaking. I don't know what would have happened." Up close, Alex noticed her designer coat, the subtle elegance, but he brushed it off. "Just get home safe," he said gruffly, helping her up. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called. The thugs stirred, cursing under their breaths, but they scrambled away into the shadows before the cops arrived. Alex scooped up Lily, who peeked out wide-eyed. "You were brave, Daddy," she said, hugging him tight. That night, as he tucked her in, Alex's hands trembled. What if I'd lost? What if they'd hurt her? But deep down, a spark ignited. Maybe he wasn't so broken after all. The next morning, Alex woke to the rumble of engines outside his apartment building. Groggy, he peered out the window and his jaw dropped. 3 sleek Rolls-Royces, black as midnight, lined the curb, the chrome gleaming in the sunlight. A crowd of neighbors gawked. "What the?" Alex muttered, pulse quickening. Lily bounced excitedly. "Daddy, fancy cars." The doors opened, and out stepped a distinguished older man in a tailored suit, flanked by bodyguards and assistants. The young woman from the alley was there too, smiling brightly. "Mr. Thompson?" the man called up. Alex stepped outside, bewildered, Lily clinging to his leg. The man extended a hand. "I'm Edward Harrington, CEO of Harrington Industries. This is my daughter, Sophia. She told me what you did last night." Sophia hugged Alex impulsively. "You saved my life." "Those men. They've been harassing people in the area. Dad had them tracked down. They're in custody now, facing charges that'll stick." Edward's eyes shone with gratitude. "As a father, I can't thank you enough. You're a hero, son, a real one." He gestured to the cars. "The first one's yours. Consider it a token. The second carries a job offer. Head of security at my firm, 6 figures. Full benefits for you and your daughter. And the third? It's loaded with everything you need to start fresh. Furniture, clothes, even college funds for little Lily here." Alex's throat tightened, tears pricking his eyes. The weight of years lifted. Validation, respect, justice. Those thugs, they drawed, their smug faces replaced by regret in a jail cell. Alex pulled Lily close, a triumphant smile breaking through. "We did good, kiddo." Stories like this remind us that sometimes, the universe has a way of balancing the scales. When you stand up against the darkness, even when you're hurting, karma can hit back harder than you ever imagined. It's not just about revenge, it's about reclaiming your worth. Phew. If that payoff didn't give you goosebumps, I don't know what will. Smash that like button if Alex's story fired you up. Drop a comment below with your own tales of sweet justice or karma in action. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. We've got more Reddit revenge stories coming your way that'll keep you hooked. Alex had always been the quiet type, the kind of man who carried the weight of the world on his broad shoulders without complaint. A former Marine, he'd seen enough action in Afghanistan to last a lifetime. Bullets whizzing past his head, the acrid smell of gunpowder, the screams of comrades, but nothing prepared him for life back home. His wife, Sarah, passed away from a sudden illness 2 years ago, leaving him to raise their 6-year-old daughter, Mia, alone. They lived in a cramped apartment on the edge of the city, where the walls were thin and the rent was always late. Alex worked odd jobs as security guard by day, delivery driver by night, anything to keep food on the table. That fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline, Alex and Mia were walking home from the park. Mia skipped ahead, her laughter a bright spot in his grey world. That's when they heard the muffled cries from the alley. 3 burly thugs had cornered a young woman, their laughter cruel as they shoved her against the wall, demanding her purse and phone. Alex's instincts kicked in. "Stay here, Mia," he whispered, his voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through him. He stepped into the shadows, his limp from an old war wound barely slowing him. "Let her go," he growled. The thugs turned, smirking at the washed-up vet. But Alex was no stranger to fights. With precise, brutal efficiency, he disarmed the first with the swift punch to the gut, elbowed the second in the jaw, and swept the legs out from under the third. They crumpled like paper, groaning on the ground as the woman fled to safety. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Alex scooped up Mia and hurried home, his heart pounding not from fear, but from a flicker of purpose he hadn't felt in years. The next morning dawned like any other in Alex's run-down apartment building, of the kind where the elevator creaked like it was on its last breath and the hallway smelled faintly of yesterday's takeout. Alex stirred in his narrow bed, the springs protesting under his weight. His body ached from the previous night's scuffle. Bruises bloomed across his knuckles, and his bad knee throbbed with a familiar dull pain. He glanced at the clock, 7:15 a.m. Mia was still asleep in the next room, her small form curled under a threadbare blanket adorned with faded cartoon characters. Alex rubbed his eyes, the events of the alley replaying in his mind like a gritty film reel. Had he really taken down 3 guys? It felt surreal, almost like one of his war dreams bleeding into reality. He shook it off, pulling on his worn jeans and a faded t-shirt that had seen better days. Coffee first, he thought, strong and black, to chase away the fog. As he shuffled to the kitchenette, a low rumble echoed from outside. At first, Alex dismissed it as traffic. The city was always noisy, with horns blaring and engines revving. But this sound was different, deeper, more luxurious, like the purr of high-end machinery. Curiosity piqued. He parted the dingy curtains and peered down at the street below. His breath caught in his throat. Parked right in front of the building were 3 gleaming Rolls-Royces, their black exteriors polished to a mirror shine under the morning sun. Chrome accents caught the light, sparkling like diamonds. A small crowd of neighbors had gathered, whispering and pointing, their phones out to capture the spectacle. "What in the world?" Alex muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia padded into the room, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, what's that noise? Are there fancy cars outside?" She pressed her nose against the window, her eyes widening. "Wow, they're so shiny, like in the movies." Before Alex could respond, a sharp knock echoed through the door. His heart skipped a beat. Who could it be? Bill collectors? The landlord with another eviction threat? He hesitated, then straightened his shoulders. Old military habits die hard. "Stay back, sweetie," he said to Mia, who nodded solemnly. Opening the door, Alex found himself face to face with a distinguished man in his late 60s, dressed in an impeccably tailored suit that screamed old money. Flanking him were 2 burly bodyguards in dark sunglasses and a young woman up the same one from the alley, now looking composed and elegant in a designer dress, her hair neatly styled. She smiled warmly, a far cry from the terrified expression he'd seen last night. "Mr. Alex Rivera?" the older man asked, his voice polished and authoritative, with a hint of a British accent. Alex nodded warily. "I'm Reginald Harrington, and this is my daughter, Elena. May we come in?" Alex stepped aside, his mind racing. The group entered, the bodyguards scanning the room like bros. Elena's eyes softened as she spotted Mia peeking from behind the couch. "Hi there," she said gently. "You're the brave little girl who was with your dad last night, aren't you?" Mia nodded shyly, clutching her stuffed bear. Reginald cleared his throat, his presence filling the small space. "Mr. Rivera, my daughter told me about what happened in that alley. You saved her life." Mia intervened when no one else would. "Those thugs. They've been a menace in the neighborhood, part of a local gang." Elena was on her way home from a late meeting when they ambushed her. Elena nodded, her voice steady but emotional. "I was so scared. They grabbed me, threatened me. I thought that was it, but then you appeared, like some guardian angel. You took them down so fast that I could hardly believe it." Alex shifted uncomfortably, not used to praise. "Just did what anyone would do," he mumbled, but Reginald shook his head. "No, not anyone, especially not a man who's already given so much to his country." Reginald's eyes flicked to the Purple Heart medal displayed humbly on the shelf, gathering dust. "I did some checking. You're a decorated veteran, single father, struggling to make ends meet. That's not right. Elena is my only child, and what you did, it's priceless. He gestured toward the window. Those cars out there, they're not just for show. The first one is your Phantom, fully loaded, worth over $500,000. Consider it a thank you. Alex's jaw dropped. Mine. I can't accept that. But Reginald held up a hand. You can, and you will. The second Rolls is carrying representatives from my company Harrington Global, a multinational firm in tech and security. We're offering you a position as head of executive protection, 6-figure salary, full benefits, relocation assistance to a better neighborhood. Your skills are exactly what we need, a real-world experience, not some classroom theory. Alex leaned against the wall, the room spinning. This couldn't be real. Yesterday, he was scrapping by, worrying about Mia's school supplies. Now, this. Mia tugged at his sleeve. Daddy, does that mean we get a big house with a yard? Her innocence broke through his daze, and he knelt down, hugging her tight. Tears pricked his eyes, not from sadness, but from an overwhelming sense of relief. Reginald continued, and the third car, it's stocked with immediate necessities, new clothes for both of you, groceries, even enrollment papers for Mia in a top private school, plus a trust fund to ensure her future. No more worries, Mr. Rivera. You've earned this. As the reality sank in, Alex thought back to the thugs' faces of their sneers, their underestimation of him. The police had caught them fleeing the scene, thanks to Elena's description and nearby CCTV. They'd be facing assault charges, possibly more if their gang ties pan out. Justice. Swift and sweet. Elena stepped forward, placing a hand on his arm. You didn't just save me, you reminded me there's good in the world. Thank you. The bodyguards helped carry boxes from the cars, laptops, toys for Mia, even a check for back rent. Neighbors watched in awe as Alex signed the paperwork, his hands steady now. By noon, the apartment was transformed. Mia squealed over her new dolls, while Alex test drove the Phantom, the leather seats cradling him like a throne. The engine hummed smoothly, a far cry from his beat-up truck. As they pulled away for a celebratory lunch courtesy of Reginald's invitation, Alex glanced in the rearview mirror at Mia's beaming face. For the first time in years, hope bloomed in his chest. No more nightmares of failure, instead, dreams of stability, of watching Mia grow without the shadow of poverty. But the story didn't end there. Weeks turned into months, and Alex thrived in his new role at Harrington Global. The office was a sleek high-rise downtown, with panoramic views of the city skyline. His team respected him not just for his war stories, but for his quiet leadership. He trained them in hand-to-hand combat, drawing from his Marine days, and implemented security protocols that prevented several potential breaches. Reginald became a mentor, sharing lunches where they discussed everything from business strategies to fatherhood. You remind me of myself at your age, Reginald once said, clapping Alex on the back. Driven, honorable. Mia's life blossomed too. The private school was a wonder: small classes, art programs, even a playground that didn't have broken swings. She made friends easily, her confidence soaring. Alex attended her first parent-teacher conference in a tailored suit, feeling like a new man. Your daughter is exceptional, the teacher gushed. So curious and kind. Alex nodded, pride swelling. Evenings were now filled with bedtime stories in their spacious new home, Mia, a 3-bedroom condo with a balcony overlooking a park. No more thin walls, just peace. Yet, echoes of the past lingered. One evening, as Alex scrolled through news on his phone, he saw an article. The 3 thugs sentenced to years in prison for multiple assaults. Their mugshots stared back, defeated. A small smile tugged at Alex's lips. A karma. Indeed. Elena visited often, becoming like an aunt to Mia. They'd picnic in the park, Elena sharing stories of her travels while Mia listened wide-eyed. You changed everything, Elena told Alex one day. Not just for me, but for you too. As seasons changed, Alex reflected on that alley night. It wasn't just about crushing thugs, it was about reclaiming his strength. The Rolls-Royces symbolized more than wealth, they were validation, a second chance. Mia, now 7, drew pictures of Daddy the hero for school projects. And Alex? He finally slept through the nights, the weight lifted. Life, once a battleground, had become a victory march. The city was a gray blur as Marcus trudged home, his boots scuffing the cracked sidewalk. A former Army Ranger, he'd served 2 tours in Iraq, but back home, he was just another face in the crowd, invisible to most. His small apartment barely held together, the walls stained with water damage, the fridge often empty. As a single dad to his 8-year-old son, Ethan, Marcus poured every ounce of strength into keeping them afloat. That night, they were walking back from the corner store, Ethan clutching a bag of discounted bread and milk. The streetlights flickered, casting long shadows, when a scream pierced the air from a nearby alley. Marcus froze, his old instincts flaring. 3 men, their voices rough with menace, had cornered a young woman, yanking at her coat and purse. Ethan's small hand tightened in his. "Dad, she's scared," he whispered. Marcus set the groceries down, his jaw tight. "Stay here, buddy." He stepped into the alley, heart pounding like it did before a mission. "Back off," he barked. The thugs laughed, eyeing his worn jacket and slight limp, a souvenir from shrapnel. "Walk away, old man," one sneered. But Marcus was no stranger to odds. In a blur, he disarmed the first with a precise strike to the wrist, floored the second with a knee to the gut, and slammed the third against the wall. They scattered as sirens wailed. The woman, trembling but unharmed, whispered, "Thank you." Marcus nodded, grabbed Ethan, and vanished into the night, the adrenaline fading into exhaustion. The next morning, Marcus woke to the usual grind, his alarm blaring at 6:00 a.m., the faint hum of the city seeping through the thin walls of his apartment. His body ached from the fight, muscles protesting as he stretched. Ethan was already up, sitting cross-legged on the floor, sketching superheroes in a dog-eared notebook. "Morning, Dad," he said, his voice bright despite their circumstances. Marcus forced a smile, ruffling his son's hair. "Morning, champ." The apartment was a testament to their struggle. A sagging couch, a kitchen table with one wobbly leg, and a single framed photo of Marcus in his ranger uniform, dusty but proud. He brewed cheap coffee, the bitter scent filling the air, and checked his phone. 3 missed calls from an unknown number. Probably a bill collector, he thought, ignoring it. His focus was on getting Ethan ready for school and himself to his part-time security gig at a warehouse. Life didn't stop for heroics, but as he opened the front door to leave, Marcus stopped dead. Outside, 3 Rolls-Royces gleamed in the morning light, their sleek black bodies drawing gasps from neighbors peeking out their windows. Ethan's eyes widened. "Dad, are those broken bar limos?" Before Marcus could answer, a sharp knock sounded. He opened the door to find a man in his late 50s, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, exuding authority. Beside him stood a woman from the alley, now poised and polished, her coat replaced with a tailored blazer. 2 bodyguards loomed behind them, silent but alert. "Mr. Marcus Hayes," the man said, his voice smooth but commanding. "I'm Charles Whitmore, CEO of Whitmore Enterprises. This is my daughter, Olivia. May we speak?" Marcus, still in his faded hoodie, stepped aside, his mind racing. Ethan clung to his side, curious but quiet. Charles surveyed the cramped apartment, his expression unreadable. Olivia spoke first, her voice steady but warm. "You saved me last night, Mr. Hayes." "Those mean they weren't just random thieves. They're part of a crew that's been targeting women in the area." "I was terrified. But you a broken bar, you moved like you done it 1,000 times. Marcus shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "Just instinct," he muttered. Charles raised a hand. "Instinct honed by service." "I looked into you, Army Ranger, Silver Star recipient, single father. You've been overlooked by a system that should honor you." His tone hardened. "That ends today." He gestured toward the window. "Those Rolls-Royces, the first is your son Cullinan, fully paid. A small token for saving my daughter's life." Marcus's breath caught. A car like that could change everything. A salad, and he'd clear his debts, maybe afford a better place. But Charles wasn't done. "The second car carries my head of HR. I'm offering you a position at Whitmore Enterprise as a director of corporate security. Starting salary, $150,000, plus benefits and stock options. Your experience is exactly what my company needs." Ethan's jaw dropped, and Marcus felt the room tilt. "And the third," Charles continued, "is loaded with essentials and new clothes, school supplies for your son, a laptop, and a check to cover your rent for a year, plus a scholarship fund for Ethan, ensuring he can attend any college he chooses. Marcus's knees weakened. He sank onto the couch, hands shaking. "Why broken bar? Why all this?" He managed. Olivia knelt beside Ethan, smiling. "Because you didn't hesitate. You saw me, a stranger, and risked everything." Charles nodded. "The police arrested those men this morning, thanks to Olivia's statement and alley cameras. They're facing serious charges: assault, robbery, gang activity. They thought they were untouchable. You proved them wrong." As the words sank in, Marcus's mind flashed to the alley of the thugs' sneers, their taunts of washed-up soldier. He'd felt invisible for so long, his sacrifices buried under society's indifference. Now, here was validation, not just for last night but for his entire life. Ethan tugged his sleeve. "Dad, does this mean we're rich?" Laughter broke the tension, even from the bodyguards. "Not rich, buddy," Marcus said, voice thick, "but we're gonna be okay." By noon, the apartment buzzed with activity. Charles's team delivered boxes and new sneakers for Ethan, a suit for Marcus's interview, groceries that filled the pantry. Neighbors whispered as Marcus signed paperwork for the job in the car. Olivia stayed to play with Ethan, teaching him how to use the new tablet they'd brought. Charles pulled Marcus aside. "You're not just getting a job, son, you're getting a chance to rebuild. Don't waste it." Marcus nodded, a fire kindling in his chest. For the first time in years, he felt seen. Weeks later, Marcus stood in his new office on the 40th floor of Whitmore Enterprises headquarters, a glass tower overlooking the city. His suit fit perfectly, a far cry from the patched jeans he'd worn for years. His team of ex-military and law enforcement respected his no-nonsense approach. He'd already revamped the company's security protocols, earning praise from Charles himself. "You're a natural," Charles said during a board meeting, clapping Marcus on the shoulder. The salary meant stability, a 2-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood, with a park where Ethan could play without fear of needles on the ground. Ethan thrived at his new school, his sketches now filled with spaceships and skyscrapers. Dreams no longer constrained by poverty. But the real payoff came one evening when Marcus saw a news report. The 3 thugs had been convicted of 5 years each. No parole. Their mugshots flashed on the screen, their arrogance replaced by hollow-eyed defeat. Marcus sipped his coffee, a quiet satisfaction settling in. They'd underestimated him, like so many others had. Now, they'd pay the price. Olivia became a regular visitor, bringing board games for Ethan and stories of her work as a lawyer. "You gave me courage," she told Marcus one night over pizza. "I'm taking on pro bono cases now, helping others like you helped me." Ethan, now 9, drew a picture of Marcus as a superhero, cape and all, and taped it to the fridge in their new home. The nightmares of war still came, but they were softer now, drowned out by Ethan's laughter and the hum of a life rebuilt. Marcus often drove the Cullinan, its smooth ride a reminder of that pivotal night. He'd park it by the old apartment sometimes, watching kids play in the street, and think about how far he'd come. The world had ignored him once, but not anymore. He'd fought for a stranger, and in return, fate had fought for him. As he tucked Ethan into bed one night, the boy whispered, "You're my hero, Dad." Marcus's heart swelled, the scars of his past finally starting to heal. Justice wasn't just a thug's punishment, it was this new life, hard-won and deeply earned. Marcus trudged through the city's dust, his worn boots scraping against the uneven pavement. A former army ranger, he'd faced death in the deserts of Iraq, but civilian life had a way of grinding him down. At 38, he was a single dad to his 7-year-old son, Ethan, living in a 1-bedroom apartment where the heat flickered and the rent was always due. His days were a blur of low-paying security shifts and late-night grocery runs. That evening, Marcus and Ethan were walking home from the store, plastic bags rustling with cheap canned goods. Ethan's small hand gripped his chatter about school a faint light in Marcus's gray world. A sharp cry cut through the noisy, a woman's voice, desperate, from a nearby alley. Marcus's instincts snapped awake. 3 men, their silhouettes hulking under the dim streetlight, had pinned a young woman against a graffiti-streaked wall, tugging at her purse and laughing. Ethan's eyes widened. "Dad, she needs help." Marcus set the bags down, heart racing. "Stay put, buddy," he said, voice low. He stepped into the alley, his old shrapnel wound aching but ignored. Let her go, he growled. The thugs turned, smirking at the limping man in a faded jacket. Beat it, Grandpa, one sneered. Marcus didn't flinch. In seconds, he'd floored the first with a precise jab, slammed the second into the wall, and tripped the third, sending him sprawling. The woman gasped, clutching her bag as the thugs scrambled away, cursing. Thank you, she whispered, trembling. Marcus nodded, grabbed Ethan, and slipped into the night, the adrenaline fading into familiar exhaustion. The next morning, Marcus woke to the usual chaos of his life. The alarm buzzed at 6:30 a.m., its shrill tone cutting through the fog of a restless sleep. His body ached from the alley fight. Bruises bloomed across his knuckles, and his bad knee throbbed like a distant drum. He rolled out of bed, the mattress creaking under his weight, and glanced at Ethan, still asleep on the pull-out couch, clutching a tattered stuffed dinosaur. The apartment was a snapshot of struggle, peeling wallpaper, a sink full of dishes, and a single photo of Marcus in his ranger uniform, its frame chipped but defiant. He brewed coffee, the cheap grounds barely masking the bitterness of his routine. His phone showed 2 missed calls from an unknown number, probably another debt collector. He ignored it, focusing on getting Ethan to school and himself to his security job at rundown strip mall. Heroics didn't pay the bills. As he stepped outside to walk Ethan to the bus stop, Marcus froze. 3 Rolls-Royces sat parked in front of the building, their glossy black exteriors gleaming like polished obsidian in the morning sun. Chrome rims caught the light, drawing gasps from neighbors who spilled onto the stoop, phones raised to snap photos. Ethan tugged at Marcus's sleeve. Dad, are those fancy cars for us? He asked, eyes wide with wonder. Before Marcus could process the sight, a firm knock rattled the door. He opened it to find a man in his early 60s, dressed in a suit that screamed wealth, his silver hair neatly combed. Beside him stood a woman from the alley, now poised in a tailored coat, her face calm but grateful. 2 bodyguards flanked them, their presence quiet but commanding. Mr. Marcus Hayes, the man said, his voice carrying the weight of authority. I'm Victor Langston, CEO of Langston Industries. This is my daughter, Claire. May we come in? Marcus stepped aside, his pulse quickening. The group entered, their polished shoes a stark contrast to the scuffed linoleum floor. Claire knelt to Ethan's level, smiling. You're the brave boy who was with your dad last night, aren't you? Ethan nodded shyly, hugging his dinosaur. Victor's gaze swept the room, lingering on a faded army commendation on the wall. Claire told me what you did, he said. Those men were part of a local gang of repeat offenders who've been terrorizing the area. You didn't just save my daughter, you put a dent in their operation. Claire's voice trembled slightly. I was alone, and they were so aggressive. I thought a broken bar. I thought it was over. Then you appeared. Like you'd trained for that moment your whole life. Marcus shifted uncomfortably, his hands stuffed in his pockets. Just did what felt right, he mumbled. Victor shook his head. No, Mr. Hayes, not everyone steps up. I looked into you, a reindeer, Bronze Star, single father raising a son on next to nothing. You've been invisible to a world that owes you respect. He gestured to the window. Those cars out there, the first is your son, a Rolls-Royce Ghost, fully paid, worth over $400,000. A thank you for your courage. Marcus's breath hitched. Sell it, and he could clear his debts. Maybe move Ethan to a safer neighborhood. But Victor wasn't finished. The second car carries my chief of staff. I'm offering you a job at Langston Industries as a head of security operations. $175,000 a year, full benefits, stock options, and a company apartment downtown. Your skills are exactly what we need. Ethan's jaw dropped, and Marcus felt the ground shift beneath him. And the third, Victor continued, is packed with immediate support, new clothes, school supplies for Ethan, a laptop, and a trust fund for his college education. No more scrapping by. Marcus sank into a chair, his mind reeling. Why all this? He asked, voice hoarse. Claire's eyes softened. Because you risked everything for a stranger. You didn't know who I was, but you acted anyway. Victor added, the police nabbed those thugs last night. Thanks to Claire's statement and street cameras, they're facing assault and robbery charges years behind bars. They thought they could prey on the weak. You showed them otherwise. The weight of Victor's words hit Marcus like a tidal wave. For years, he'd been dismissed by employers who saw his limp, by landlords who hounded him for rent, by a society that forgot its veterans. The thugs taunt Salem soldier. Nobody had echoed that neglect. Now, it was more than gratitude, it was redemption. Ethan climbed into his lap, whispering, "Dad, does this mean we get a big house?" Marcus chuckled, a rare sound, and hugged him tight. "Maybe, kiddo." Tears stung his eyes, not from pain but from a sudden, overwhelming relief. The morning unfolded like a dream. Victor's team carried in boxes sneakers and jackets for Ethan, a tailored suit for Marcus, groceries that overflowed the kitchen counter. Neighbors gawked as Marcus signed contracts, his hand steady despite the surrealness. Clara stayed to color with Ethan, her laughter filling the apartment with warmth. Victor pulled Marcus aside. "This isn't charity," he said firmly. "You've earned this. Don't let the world tell you otherwise." Marcus nodded, a spark of his old Ranger resolve reigniting. Weeks later, Marcus stood in his new office at Langston Industries, a sleek corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city's skyline. His suit fit like it was made for him, a far cry from the thrift store clothes he'd worn for years. His team, a seasoned security professional, listened intently as he outlined new protocols, his voice steady with authority. He'd already foiled a potential data breach, earning a nod from Victor himself. "You're proving me right," Victor said over coffee one morning, his tone almost fatherly. The salary meant a new life, a spacious apartment with a balcony, where Ethan could play without dodging broken glass. Ethan's new school was a revelation: of small classes, a robotics club, teachers who saw his potential. "Your son's a thinker," his teacher told Marcus at a conference. "He's going places." Marcus beamed, pride replacing years of worry. One evening, scrolling through his phone, Marcus stumbled on a news update. The three thugs had been sentenced to 7 years each. No early release. Their mugshots stared back, their bravado shattered. A quiet smile crossed Marcus's face. They'd mocked him, underestimated him, but now they were just names on a docket, while he was building a future. Clara visited often, becoming a friend to both Marcus and Ethan. She'd bring puzzles or books, sitting cross-legged on the floor with Ethan, her laughter a reminder of that alley night. "You gave me back my sense of safety," she told Marcus Monday. "I'm paying it forward, volunteering at a women's shelter now." Ethan, thriving at 9, drew a picture of Marcus as a knight, armor gleaming, taped proudly to their new fridge. Driving the Rolls-Royce Ghost became a ritual. Its engine purred like a contented beast, the leather interior a stark contrast to his old, rattling pickup. Sometimes, Marcus drove past his old apartment, watching kids kick a soccer ball in the street. He'd think of the years he felt invisible, his sacrifices buried under society's indifference. That night in the alley hadn't just saved Claire, it had saved him, too. Tucking Ethan into bed one night, the boy murmured, "You're the best dad ever." Marcus's heart swelled, the scars of his past softening. The world had ignored him once, but now it saw him clearly: a hero, a father, a man reborn.